Hey Ryan, I love your 7 plays on the wristband. As an old football coach for both of my sons for many years, I really appreciate how a wristband can keep things simple and help us to keep our focus in stressful situations, either on the football field or in your therapy sessions. I also couldn't agree more that there are no shortcuts to the withdrawer needing to experience success with their emotional experience. You can't talk them into emotions, you can't sell EFT, you can't coach new moves without the good old corrective emotional experience. Every daily encounter a withdrawer has where their emotional experience is not named, it's not shared, and therefore it will not be responded to, only strengthens their protective strategy of putting up walls and trying to turn down their emotions. Let's face it, their reality is they don't want to do emotions because emotions haven't treated them well. We have to help them change that. We literally want to change the emotional numbers at play here. Withdrawal re-engagement is a slow process of titrating successes with emotions over time. This is often a very difficult task for therapists because withdrawers are so well defended against increasing emotional intensity, which is the very target therapists are trying to use to create change. No wonder why there's a mismatch experience there. And Ryan is also so right in emphasizing the importance of pacing, and building a withdrawer's emotional capacity is critical to success. To do so, a therapist has to resist pushing too fast, too early in the process. Instead, we need to wait patiently for those inevitable moments in session where withdrawers will try to turn down emotion, because that's what they do. And when they do it, to help them see their perfect timing, that they really are so much better at emotions than most people give them credit for. And when we point that out, we want to be able to say, hey, good job here. Look at what you're doing. Give them success in naming their emotional reality. I constantly remind myself, my job is to help them feel success in co-regulation with me if they're going to give up those reliable self-regulation strategies that have worked so well historically for them. I constantly try to keep it as simple as possible. I'm trying to assess my interventions and being ready to pivot. If I see that my intervention leads to defensiveness, it's just a sign to go up and go into their defenses, spend more time honoring their protection, the function of what they're trying to do. If I see openness to my intervention, then it's a sign I can go deeper into their vulnerability and fears. And I'm constantly waiting to move between openness and defensiveness throughout session. That's how we're increasing their ability to titrate emotional experience. To assist with this process, I am going to add 8 plays to Ryan's 7 to give us a total of 15 plays in this wristband. Here we go. 1, really important to identify the primary strategy the withdrawer is using to turn down emotions. There are so many different types of withdrawers. Some are fixers, some are performers, some are intellectual and go into their head. Others are really compliant, placating, telling their partner what they want to hear. Some are controlling. Others can be really condescending. Some withhold their engagement. Others are indirect or passive aggressive. Some are really arrogant and overconfident. Others are positive and funny, maybe deflecting, minimizing. Or who has seen these angry withdrawers? The point is, they come in all different shapes, sizes, and different combinations. But what they all share in common is this need to find safety in turning down emotions. So, how do we understand what's their dominant move? This is where CPR, that great acronym, is so helpful. C, capture the strategy they're using by naming it. I notice you look up and you go into your head and you're trying to figure things out. It almost seems like I ask you what you feel and you're trying to come up with the answer, right? That strategy has worked really well for you in your life. So we're naming it with C. P is the key. We want to give permission for the strategy. We want to honor the good intention in what they're doing. There's an adaptive function to this move that they're employing, even if they don't realize it themselves. So going to your head has been a proven way for you to figure things out and perform more effectively. No wonder why your brain wants to go there when I ask you a question. Whatever it is, why do you go towards controlling? Why do you go towards placating? Why do you turn towards the positive? Whatever the pull is, there's a function in it. We want to be able to name that, and now the P is we want to give it permission. The permission is the success. The whole point of what we're talking about here. They have to have success when you point out what they're doing emotionally. They go to their head, they go to control, it makes sense, it's adaptive. What's that like to hear? That what you're doing right now has a function, it has a lot of emotional intelligence. Help them have success, as we pointed out. The R is the redirect or to refocus. This is where we're stretching. The P is connecting with withdrawers. Now we're going to stretch. We want to invite them into seeing there's always a cost to any protection, right? A cost to themselves where nobody sees what's happening, maybe that fear, or maybe there's an impact on their partner. Are they open to seeing that? No, defensive? Good. We'll go back up into understanding the function of your protection. If there's an openness, we continue to stretch their emotional engagement. So again, this key to pivoting throughout. 2, we want to look for these live triggers in session. We're going to keep hitting this point. Withdrawers are excellent at scanning for emotional information and immediately acting in session to regulate what they perceive as a potential threat. We want to make explicit this action tendency. So what do? They look away, they look down, they lean, they make a joke, they look at their watch, they tell a story. Whatever the move is, there's some reason behind that, some emotional impulse that we're trying to make explicit. They are so good at emotions. Help them understand it. Help their partner understand that. There are countless entry points if we train ourselves to stay focused in the present moment and just be with them. They will show their emotional reality to us. 3, constantly go to the body. Withdrawers might not know in the beginning, but anytime they start putting words to something, ask them, check in with your body. You say you don't know, you say you feel like maybe you're failing. Where do you feel that in your body, in your stomach, in your throat, in your head, in your arms, in your chest? The more you ask them, the better they're going to get at going into their body. The beauty of the body, it gives us exactly where these emotions are embodied. It's given us a marker to check in with. We know we're in present moment. We're doing fantastic work. It also helps us when we share it and a partner responds, we want to see that it shifts. We're always working towards transformation. If I feel like a failure in my stomach and I share it, my partner gives me a hug, I want to go back to the stomach to see if it calms down. Physical markers are gold in therapy. We want to use that with withdrawers throughout the whole process. 4, be ready for I don't know. Celebrate it when it happens. This is fantastic work that you're doing. Right? When somebody says, a withdrawer, I don't know, you're right on target. You're trying to help them put words to something that's outside awareness. I don't know is safe for them, right? Because they can't be wrong. But we want to celebrate not knowing. Let them know this is a safe move, and we're just going to hang out here in this place with them. Right? As a therapist, if we're not comfortable with not knowing, how are they going to be comfortable with not knowing? 5. We want to help withdrawers who are externally focused on their performance or on their partner to start shifting back into what we call view of self and looking at themselves. Again, we're going to need to pivot. They're looking external, we try to get them to look inward. So we want to have some lines to do that. Right before this strategy kicks in, you're trying to figure out how to fix something. You go to your head again. You were getting a message from your partner that you were doing something wrong, that you were failing. Right? As I start to name what happens in that moment, right before they protect themselves, I'm declaring the mission. I want to understand this moment right before you leave. That's the redirect. I'm going back to this place of failure. That's my entry point. Now I got to have some tools to unpack that entry point. So all the interventions we talk about, but here are some more specific ones. To finish the mission, we need to lean into the possibilities. So if the fear is failure, I want to be able to ask this withdrawer, what happens if you continue to fail? Does everything fall apart? Do you lose your job? Do you lose your relationship? Do you lose your family? Do you lose your money? What happens? We got to lean into the picture to make those fears come alive. I literally want them to paint me a picture. What does life look like if you fail? If you can't get out of this helpless place, if all your moves to fix things do not work, what is waiting for you? Is there a scene that comes up for you when you think about failing? What do you tell yourself when this keeps happening? How do you make sense of being back in this place again? What does it mean about you? We got to keep reminding ourselves there's a really tender place inside that is being impacted by this failure, and yet they don't have the words to share it. They need our help to help them stay and find their words in these deeper places of view of self. Let's hit the gas pedal. I want to give you even some more lines. So 6 is going to be the gas pedal. Right? You get an entry point, this sense of failure, and you want to get them more specific. You want to make it become more alive in a room. So some lines that I often will use. Flipping the block, right? That's a great one. You use this strategy, you go to your mind, you walk away. That's the protective move. What would happen if you couldn't do that? If you couldn't go up into your head? That's where you're going to see the fear. Oh, if I couldn't get away, it would be bad. That's what we call flipping the block. Lean into them not having a block, and you'll get that fear. Or you might ask them, who sees you in this place right before you protect yourself, where you feel like you're failing? What would life look like if this place only gets worse? Paint me a picture. It sounds like the withdrawer, you believe you deserve love only when you get it right. And when you fail, you deserve to be left alone? Is that what I hear you saying? You don't accept yourself when you fail. It's hard to imagine your partner would want to come here, find you, love you, accept you in this place. Am I hearing that right? Or we can go to the little boy. It seems like that little boy or that little girl inside of you is trying so hard to make people happy, to get it right. And yet, you keep finding yourself alone in this place. Or maybe imagine somebody you love, a child of theirs, being in a very similar place, trying their best, and then when they fail, just going off into the closet to hide. How would that make you feel as their parent to see them go into that place? These are all lines that we can use to just stay longer in this place to help them find their words. 7, we want to honor the breaks, the exits, the need to exit emotion. Right? It's just like a relief valve. Expect that throughout the process. You ask them how would they feel if their kid was in that place, and they look down and they go, horrible. I wouldn't want my kid to feel that way. You got them in the intensity. Then they might exit. But George, you know what? I know my kid's not in that place, and I work really hard to make sure that all they're doing is taking their foot off the gas pedal and wanting to reset, wanting to kind of rest a little bit. It's a great time to validate, consolidate the gains we've made, give them some success, appreciate the new moves that they're taking. Right? Make it safer, go up, pivot, organize, and then we probably can take another pass down. 8th and last one. I want to actively empower therapists to fight for the withdrawer's right for connection. Even though they've resigned themselves, leave me alone, I'm okay in these places. We know there's a better way than to just deal with stress, hurt, and pain in isolation. So I really want to highlight what I call the 4 terrible ways of a withdrawer. and let them know this, I see you and this is okay, and I want to invite you into getting out of this place. The first wave. It's terrible that for all the efforts to get it right, you feel like you're failing. You kind of get to this place of futility, of isolation, that you are where you don't want to be. If you would have got it right, you would have wound up. So the first wave is just a place of failure and what that feels like. It sucks, but it gets worse. 2, the second wave is not only have you failed, but the feedback you're getting from your partner is actually it's your fault why this disconnection is happening. The failure is because you don't care enough, you haven't tried hard enough, you haven't risked enough, that ultimately it's your fault why you failed. It's one thing to fail. 2, it's to be blamed for the very failure. That's where it feels crazy making, or maybe even gaslighting. But it gets worse. 3, the third wave is, not only is your partner telling you it's your fault, but because this is what always happens, the third wave is you believe it. You start to agree with that voice in your head that says, it's my fault. There's something about me. This is where the shame really takes over. Right? I'm not smart enough. I'm not fast enough. I don't do whatever it is enough, that this is my fault. Just sit in that. Because this is the fourth wave. And to me, what feels the most hellacious about the whole process is the withdrawers wind up being alone. And in that aloneness, they hate themselves. Can you feel that? No wonder why they don't want to do emotions. This is the place nobody sees and nobody comes. Wouldn't you want to get away from that place too, if you could? That's why they need therapists to fight for them in such a different way. So, now that you got 15 plays on this wristband, let's see what it looks like in real time in the therapeutic sessions. Here we go.